Thanks for joining us for another Saint Spotlight. Today we are featuring G. Horton, a class of 2006 alum. After achieving a bachelor's degree at Thomas More and a master's degree at the University of Louisville, G went on to become a self-taught visual artist and is now very active in the Cincinnati region art scene. G, can you give us a rundown on the who, the what, the how of your current situation?
Yeah, for sure. Currently, I'm a full-time artist. I started in July 1. I officially transitioned from my career as an executive recruiter, working within the corporate space, to focus primarily on my craft and my practice as an artist. And although the transition has been rather new, it's exciting, it's rewarding. I feel like I'm living in my truth. I feel like I'm aligning with what I was put on this earth to do, and I'm happy.
Can you tell us a little bit about how you got involved in art?
I'm originally from Louisville, Kentucky. As a kid, I had a gift, so to speak, to draw and do art making, but I just kind of let it fall to the wayside and fell in love with athletics and just other things. And so to answer your question, I consider myself an artist early on in my life, but it wasn't until, honestly, I was at Thomas More and I got reconnected with art.
Okay.
It was my last semester of college when I took drawing on the right side of the brain, which was my first and only art class.
Okay.
And that was kind of like my reintroduction into.
Who or which artists do you consider to be your influences?
I'm all over the place when it comes to inspiration from artists. I tend to look at inspiration and tend to find it across genres of arts, whether that's music, whether that's visual arts, whether that's performance arts. And because I can see how it's all interconnected. As of right now, I'm really intrigued with some old masters, with some of the talented artists from Austria, like Gustav Klimt. He's really an artist that I tend to study, and I love his work. I love his drawing. He's one that I just tend to draw inspiration from when I'm looking at work and looking at how to push my artistic practice in a different direction. He's one that I lean to. A more modern, more commercially successful and well-known artist has to be Basquiat, which is a New York-based artist in the 80s punk rock contemporary art scene, who passed away, I think, in the late 80s. But I think his story of how he pretty much claimed to fame is inspiring, considering the fact that he too is a self-taught artist. And then, as it relates to the comment I made about finding inspiration across genres of artists, I'm obsessed with hip hop and hip hop culture, and as it relates to culture and inspiration, Kendrick Lamar, who is a rapper, I look to his work and the content of his work and his approach to his craft and practice is definitely an inspiration as well.
What current projects are you working on?
Top of mind right now, I'm currently serving as an artist in residence at the Mercantile Library. It's a very historic library in Cincinnati. I'm commissioned to create a 6-foot portrait of Peter H. Clark. Peter H. Clark was an iconic African-American man in the 18th century here in Cincinnati. He's a prominent figure in the education space, an advocate for education, primarily for African-Americans. Especially during that time, you had a lot of African-Americans who were fleeing from the South looking for a better quality of life, and he saw education as a vehicle to enhance this quality of life. Because of that, he was a beautiful yet complicated man here in our city. And as it relates to the Mercantile, he was the first African-American member. The commission evolved into an artist in residence. I'm currently at the Mercantile once a week drawing on that piece. So that's one project that's ongoing. The due date is scheduled 2021, not sure yet, but once the work is complete, we're going to have an unveiling. In addition to that, it's a project that is specifically geared towards my solo show. It'll be my first solo show, and it's an art series entitled Coming of Age, and it's a autobiographical snapshot into my life, transitioning from a boy into a man, in which I'm using my 13-year-old nephew serving as my muse, the main character within this story that I'm telling. And the story is comprised of 10 to 12 drawings, and the drawings are all produced through a form of hyperrealism, which is the medium or the artistic practice that I focus on. And I just have a ton of other projects and collaborations that I'm doing here in the community and the city. But my primary focus are those two things.
Well, thank you so much for being our Saint Spotlight today.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you for carving out time to jump on the call.